The Liver King has finally confessed to something he's been accused of ever since he first emerged on social media. Over the past year, the Liver King has gone from a total unknown to one of the most viral sensations on the internet. And the truth is, he's been able to accomplish this because of one thing: his body. The man is absolutely massive, there's no two ways about it. His physique is comparable to that of a steroid-abusing bodybuilder, which is all some people needed to see to believe he was using. But despite the obvious signs, the Liver King still claimed he was natural time and time again.
Never taken steroids, I've never done PEDs other than prioritize, execute, and dominate in life.
The question has always been, do you take steroids? Do you take PEDs? The answer to that is no. I've always told the truth, I still tell the truth.
Many people bought into his lies and believed that if they just worked hard enough, they'd be able to look just like him. After all, that's exactly what he was preaching to his followers. But of course, this wasn't the case, and just like other influencers who claim they're natural and manipulate their gullible audience, he got away with it. That was until November 28th, 2022, when Derek from the channel More Plates, More Dates released a video proving that the Liver King was in fact on steroids. A few days later, the Liver King posted a video on his YouTube channel confessing everything. He'd outright lied to millions, and it makes you wonder why someone would do something that immoral. To learn this and to understand the truth about the Liver King, we have to go back. In August 2021, the Liver King made his first post on social media. It was a professionally edited trailer in which he preached that the answer to our struggles and suffering is a return to ancestral living. He said his mission is to put back in what the modern world left out, and this message, coupled with his insane physique and barbarian looks, instantly made people want to know more. Shortly after, he laid out what he calls the 9 ancestral tenets: sleep, eat, move, shield, connect, cold, sun, fight, and bond. These tenets became the foundation of the Liver King brand. They connect his followers, making them feel as though they're part of a community of people that share the same values and philosophies. One of the most powerful ways to build a successful brand is to connect it to your customer's identity, and this is what the Liver King's done. Collectively branding his followers as primals is another way he's achieved that. But ultimately, the whole point of this, aside from spreading the ancestral message, was to convert his followers into paying customers. And that's where the next part of the Liver King's plan came into play. On September 3rd, 2021, he posted a video on his Instagram page with him sitting in front of a slab of red meat. The caption read, "I didn't earn the name Liver King by skipping the most nutrient-dense powerhouse food on the planet."
Liver King here. Our early ancestors always ate the liver first. When we took down an animal, it wasn't the muscle meat or anything else we would have consumed first. It was the liver, because it's the most nutrient-dense powerhouse food on the planet.
This marked the start of what the Liver King is perhaps most notorious for: his absurdly weird diet. When you look at some of the things this man puts in his body, you might just throw up a little. One thing he eats on an almost daily basis is bull testicles. He's posted multiple videos showing him eating these, using the catchphrase, "Who needs vegetables when you can eat testicles?"
I'm gonna take a huge bite out of these testicles. All I did was remove the membrane here. You can see the other membrane's fully intact. Here we go.
Then there's his love of raw fertilized eggs, which he eats at least 12 of every day. While there's nothing wrong with eating raw eggs, it's when you take it to the extremes the Liver King does that it starts to become questionable.
I have 50 fertilized fresh eggs from my farm. I'm about to eat all of these. I eat seafood once a week with my tribe every Wednesday, skin on, bone in sardines. And if you can't do that, you can do what a bear does. Go straight for the source and get the eggs. More. Okay.
And of course, there's the copious amounts of liver he consumes on a daily basis. He has 3 to 4 ounces of liver with every meal, which means he eats over a pound of raw liver every day. The list of unusual things the Liver King eats goes on, but he's drawn so much attention to his eating habits for a reason: to associate it with his physique, which ultimately makes people interested in eating the same things. Except eating large quantities of liver, raw eggs, and testicles doesn't sound very appealing to your average Joe. But it just so happens that the Liver King has a convenient solution for this: ancestral supplements. Ancestral Supplements is a brand the Liver King started several years ago before his rise to fame. They sell a range of products from beef liver supplements to fish eggs and beef collagen. To the Liver King's credit, people seem to love the stuff, and judging from reviews online, it appears to produce good results. He says he has over 10 other ancestral related companies, including another supplement company called Heart and Soil, and from these businesses he makes over $100 million a year. But you can bet his creation of the Liver King persona has made all the difference to that number. By March 2022, the Liver King had amassed over 1.2 million followers on Instagram and 1.7 million followers on TikTok. Everyone was talking about that massive guy who eats raw meat all the time, but when he got brought up on an episode of the Joe Rogan Experience released that month, Joe called him out. He accused him of not being natural, saying that his physique is simply unattainable without the use of drugs.
Have you seen that bloke that eats just the raw?
No, that's a gimmick, that guy.
It just looks ridiculous. He's got a plate of hearts and he just looks weird.
He's got an ass filled with steroids is what he's got.
Yeah, he should have a big plate of steroids next to it.
That is not a natural body.
Of course it's not.
That guy is shooting all kinds of shit into his system to achieve that kind of physique.
Completely.
But the biggest podcaster in the world talking about him just opened him up to an even broader audience. And when an internet personality is getting this much traction, the next thing that happens is almost always the same: podcast appearances. The Liver King made sure to do his first podcast with his business partner and friend, Paul Saladino, who runs the Liver King's other supplement company I mentioned, Heart and Soil. The two have known each other for years, and in the podcast, Paul sang the Liver King's praises, describing him as a brother and vouching for everything he stands for.
We were eating testicle and liver together and nobody knew. And now it's like the whole fucking world knows, man. And I feel like a cool kid knowing you before you exploded.
Following this, the Liver King started popping up everywhere. He made appearances on the Compulsive podcast, the Full Send podcast, the H3 podcast, and many, many more. Despite being far removed from his normal surroundings, he stayed on brand, making every appearance topless. Inevitably, the question of whether or not he uses steroids came up, and each time it did, the Liver King shut down the idea completely.
So this is what I say to people that make this accusation. If you don't believe this is possible, then I suggest that you take that self-limiting belief, you put that shit in a fucking box, and you bury that next to all your embarrassing shit, and don't open your fucking mouth about it. Let that live with you. Don't let that live with somebody else.
But at this point, people had already come to their own conclusions as to whether he was using steroids or not. So the more interesting thing was learning more about the man behind the brand, Brian Johnson. On several of the podcasts, Brian opened up about his early years and the struggles that led him to where he is today. His dad passed away when he was just 2 or 3 years old, so it was just him, his mum, and his older brother. Filling the shoes of both parents was a heavy burden to bear for his mum, and she often beat him as a form of punishment. Brian was much smaller than the other kids in his middle school, which led to him being viciously bullied and beaten every day. He described his experience at school as a living hell. He hated everything about himself, the way he looked, the way he dressed, the way he spoke, and this deep insecurity led to him taking up the one thing in his life he felt he could have some control over: lifting weights.
I had started lifting weights just prior to 10. I realized like this is the only place I could really control the outcomes in my life. And so I was drawn to it more and more and more. And eventually I got strong and I looked strong and I figured out a way out of this hellhole.
Having built a foundation of self-worth through the gym, Brian's high school experience was much better, and by the time he was 15 years old, he'd already built an impressive physique. This is where his obsession with bodybuilding began, and he credits those early years of suffering for eventually forging him into the Liver King. By late 2022, just over a year after the Liver King first appeared on social media, he'd become an internet celebrity. He'd amassed an enormous following, appeared on all the big podcasts, and all of his businesses were thriving. Sure, he was still being accused of using steroids, but it was simply his word against another's. There was no way to prove it, or so he thought. Unfortunately for the Liver King, his web of lies would finally be exposed on November 28th, 2022, when Derek from More Plates More Dates posted this video, The Liver King Lie. At the start of the video, Derek revealed that some shocking information about the Liver King had come across his desk. He credited the Liver King for spreading what, for the most part, is a positive message, but it was about half an hour in that he dropped the bomb everyone had been waiting for. Derek showed a series of emails from June 2021 between the Liver King and an old bodybuilding coach of his. In the first email, Brian explained who he is before outlining his detailed plan to build the Liver King brand. He wrote, "I'm the face of several brands including ancestral supplements, and I've just hired a team to build the Liver King brand with the goal of 1 million followers by March 2022. I'm pouring ridiculous resources into making this happen, including hosting a video guy that will be living at my guest house and a film crew that will be filming 7 days a month. I have to stay in great shape year round." He went on to explain he's paying $11,000 a month for Omnitrope, which is pharmacy-grade human growth hormone. According to Derek, the dosage he stated he takes is ridiculously high, being more than the amount even some competitive bodybuilders take.
10 international units per day, which is like a really, really high, super expensive dosage that, to be honest, I know bodybuilders who compete at the Open Mr. Olympia who use less pharma-grade GH than that. That's how high of a dose that actually is.
He went on to list all the other drugs he takes before answering a series of questions pertaining to his lifestyle and eating habits. While reading the emails, Derek discovered an unread email sent directly to him from the Liver King about 1 month earlier. In it, the Liver King explained that he wanted to get shredded and was looking for Derek to coach him. He revealed that he was already taking peptides but was open and willing to take other substances. A member of the Liver King's team at Ancestral Supplements had also reached out, which shows at least some of the people that work for him were aware of his drug use. Within days of Derek's video going live, it got millions of views and the news about the Liver King was being talked about everywhere. There was no hiding from it, and 4 days after Derek's video came out, the Liver King confessed.
I'm here now to set the record straight. Yes, I've done steroids, and yes, I am on steroids. All I can do is take extreme ownership right now, be better, and lead myself to a better life as a better human.
The charade had finally come to an end, and just like that, any and all integrity the Liver King had was gone.
If this guy is able to naturally, point blank, with ease, on the biggest platforms in the world, say, I've never touched steroids, and he's self-assured in his lies, what else has he lied about? What else is this sort of a person capable of?
He deceived everyone, his followers, his friends, and even his business partner, Paul Saladino. Paul posted a video responding to the situation, clearly feeling upset and betrayed by the Liver King.
I've known Brian for 5 years, long before his social media presence began, and I'm incredibly disappointed. I think integrity is everything. I had my concerns about it. I had my doubts that he was free of PEDs like so many of you, but on multiple occasions when I challenged him with this, I was told that the answer is no.
Many people wondered whether he lied to his family as well, but it turns out his wife knew the whole time and kept it a secret. However, he didn't tell his children and had to come clean when the news got out. None of this would have come to light if it hadn't been for the bodybuilding coach that leaked the Liver King's emails to Derek. He's since come forward to explain exactly why he shared the emails in the first place.
Now looking back on it, what he wanted me to do is be his drug guy secretly. Thus, I would have been complicit in this lie all along. And if I knew what was going to happen, what the Liver King was going to turn into, man, I wouldn't be able to live with myself.
Had it not been for this man's moral compass, we might still be speculating about whether the Liver King is natural or not today. But ultimately, he did what he felt needed to be done, and the truth is out. Since this, the Liver King has been appearing on a number of podcasts, opening up about his steroid use. He said he regrets misleading people and that he's committed to going natural from here on out.
You would go natty?
Yes.
So are you going natty? That's it?
Yes.
Many people have reacted to the scandal, including the Compulsive crew and Joe Rogan.
Anyways, Liver King, I don't know about you, because I asked you on my podcast if you did steroids and you lied to my fucking face.
Wasn't surprised at all.
No.
I mean, it seems completely makes sense, but that's exactly what I expected. There's no way you can look like that in your 40s. I mean, he's preposterously jacked.
The irony of the situation is that despite his screw up, more people are talking about the Liver King than ever before, and his social media following is continuing to grow. The truth is, the Liver King would not be a viral sensation if he didn't have the body he does. He would not have convinced nearly as many people to follow his 9 ancestral tenets, and he would not have converted so many of his followers into paying customers. He undermined his own philosophies every step of the way by putting his body and health in danger, and he deceived and misled thousands into making decisions they otherwise may not have. Perhaps his desire to look this way is to promote his businesses and make money. Perhaps it's to spread the message of ancestral living farther than he'd be able to otherwise. Or maybe it's simply to cover up deep-rooted insecurities he's been carrying from childhood. Whatever it may be, what the Liver King did simply isn't right. And while a lot of good has come from his ancestral message, this doesn't make up for the lies he's told.